I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me. And what was left over I put.
Dzień dobry, cześć, witaj ponownie. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome to today's video. So today we're going to be checking out a Poland reaction, like a Poland video. Okay, we're going to be reacting to it. I hope you enjoyed this particular one with me. Please give the video a huge and massive thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you have not, share with comment, and let's dive into today's topic.
Through downtown Los Angeles, parts of London, even cities once considered symbols of stability. And something immediately stands out. Rows of tents, entire sidewalks turned into makeshift neighborhoods. Underpasses that look less like infrastructure and more like settlements. Now compare that to cities across Poland. Warsaw, Krakow, Wrocław, Łódź. Homelessness exists, poverty exists, struggle exists. But massive tent cities, almost never. So the real question is not, does Poland have homelessness? The real question is, why does it look so different? And more importantly, is this difference something the rest of Europe, or even the West, should be paying attention to right now?
It's the system.
Because what's happening on the streets of the United States and the United Kingdom isn't slowing down. But in Poland, something is stopping that outcome. Globally, homelessness has become more visible than ever, not hidden in shelters, not temporarily displaced, but permanently outdoors. Entire communities formed out of necessity. In parts of California, tents stretch for blocks. In London, temporary encampments remain for years. And these aren't rare sights anymore. They're normal, expected, sometimes even planned for by local governments. Now pause for a moment. Think about the last time a Polish city center had rows of tents lining the street. Entire public parks filled with makeshift housing. Underpasses converted into semi-permanent settlements. It's difficult to picture. Not because hardship doesn't exist, but because Poland's version of homelessness rarely becomes a permanent outdoor lifestyle. And that's where the story begins. A common assumption appears quickly. Maybe Poland just has less homelessness. But that's not the full story. Poland does have housing insecurity, poverty, people without stable accommodation. What Poland doesn't have, at scale, is street permanence. In the US or UK, someone can remain outdoors for years. In Poland, that outcome is much less likely. Why? Because the system, formal and informal, intervenes earlier. Not always gently, not always efficiently, but consistently.
As if I know that it's the system.
And this is where things start to shift from visibility to structure. Because homelessness in Poland is less a public landscape and more a hidden cycle. Let's address some.
The video began, I immediately said system. And he said it was because of the system. Because of the system, the government, Poland government and US and American government are two different things. Okay? Like, he said something about you can have a permit to stay outside. So that he said the government is willingly giving people permit to live outside. So all those people that are homeless, is it only the indigene or is both immigrants, like people that are from other country, okay, that comes to a country and become homeless, or it's the indigene, like the people living in that country, like the citizens of that country? Okay, I would like to know in the comment section. All right guys, so this is quite interesting. I always love this comparison of two nations or comparison of two countries. In this particular video, he compared the US, UK and Poland is giving me this amazing joy. Like, seriously, the streets are so clean. You hardly there's homeless people in Poland, but it's not as rampant as the way I am seeing it in the video between the US and in the UK. So look, let's keep on watching.
Something obvious. Climate. Polish winters are not uncomfortable, they are dangerous. Sleeping outside in January is not simply difficult, it can be fatal. This creates a reality that countries like the UK simply do not face at the same level. Outdoor survival is not a long-term option. And because of that, institutions are forced to respond. Cold weather activates, emergency
But
shelters,
UK always rain.
outreach patrols, temporary accommodation programs. Even when systems are imperfect, exposure becomes a crisis that cannot be ignored. In milder climates, tents become a survival strategy. In Poland's climate, they become a death risk. So the pathway shifts indoors, whether through shelters, temporary housing, or informal arrangements. And that leads to the next key difference. In many Western countries, independence is prioritized. Living alone is the norm. Family support is often emotional, not structural. In Poland, reality has historically been different. Multi-generational living, returning home during hardship, temporary stays with relatives, couch sharing between extended networks. These are not rare exceptions, they're fallback systems, sometimes uncomfortable, sometimes crowded, but still functioning as a buffer before street homelessness becomes permanent. So instead of tent to long-term encampment, the pathway often looks like job loss to temporary instability to family support to shelter if needed, which dramatically reduces the likelihood of visible tent communities forming. It doesn't eliminate hardship, but it interrupts escalation. Another rarely discussed factor? Speed. In parts of the US or UK, eviction can move fast, shockingly fast. Housing loss can turn into street presence within weeks. Poland's legal and administrative processes often move slower. This delay,
Wow.
frustrating in many contexts, has one unintended effect: time. Time for negotiation, alternative arrangements, social intervention, instead of immediate displacement onto the street. And that delay changes outcomes. Because homelessness that becomes visible quickly tends to become permanent. Homelessness that remains in transition has a higher chance of resolution. Here's a critical difference. In some Western cities, shelters are avoided. They're seen as unsafe, overcrowded, or restrictive. So
Say about this particular video is still system. Okay, there's a particular key point he narrated, the narrator said about it. Sometimes it's the local government that actually allows the homelessness to be in the city or community or town. Okay, so is it that the money, the funds that the state government or the federal government is giving is not actually distributed well? Okay, when it comes to getting a job, if you have a job, you definitely you have money to get a house. It will not result for you to be living on the street. Yeah, so is it that the job hunting is not the jobbing system is not really functioning well in the US and in UK? And that thing again I want to ask again is the weather. Okay, he said something about in Poland the weather is harsh, that's why there's not much camping, or let's say there's no more tent outside. But in the UK it's always raining as well. There's always raining weather, the weather is always raining. So are you actually telling me that people still live under the tent in the rain, okay, when they catch cold? Let me know in the comment section. This is quite interesting to watch, and let me know your key points. If you're from Poland, from USA, from UK, let me know how do you feel about this particular video.
it's become the alternative. In Poland, shelters are far from perfect, but they are widely used, and during winter especially, heavily relied upon. This creates movement. Instead of fixed outdoor settlements, individuals cycle through temporary housing, night shelters, social programs, which keeps homelessness less visible, even when it exists, and visibility matters. Because once tent cities form, they tend to grow. Stability forms around instability, and breaking that cycle becomes exponentially harder. Poland's recent history includes periods where housing scarcity was widespread. Improvisation wasn't theoretical, it was necessary. Shared space, temporary solutions, community adaptation. That legacy still influences behavior today. The idea of finding somewhere indoors remains stronger than the normalization
Share
of
space,
outdoor
share
living,
house. There should be
even when
share house
conditions
in
are
other
difficult.
countries, right?
And that shapes outcomes more than policy alone ever could. So Poland doesn't lack homelessness. What it lacks, at scale, is permanent outdoor settlement. Because multiple forces intersect: climate pressure, family safety nets, shelter usage, legal pacing, cultural adaptation. Each one alone is imperfect. Together, they interrupt the formation of tent cities. And as Western
There's a
cities
lot of
continue to
factors. That's
struggle
why
with
there's
visible
no
homelessness, Poland
outdoor
offers a different,
hamlet.
quieter model. Not flawless, not ideal, but undeniably distinct. If this perspective added something new to the way urban reality is viewed, consider leaving a like. Subscribe for deeper breakdowns of the forces shaping modern Poland. And share this with someone who still believes homelessness always looks the same everywhere. Because sometimes the biggest differences are the ones rarely seen.
The key point he used, okay, everything the narrator really hit the nail on the head, okay, everything about the way he narrates his logic or his thinking about Poland. Okay, let me know your own thoughts in the comment section. Please give the video a huge and massive thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you have not, share a beautiful comment. For me, in this particular video, I see it is that the system is different. Every system and every government is different. Okay, for me, I feel Poland works more for the people. Okay, for the people, do you understand? Like they want their citizens to be okay, to be cared for. Okay, and I want to ask, how many percent of share house can you find in Poland? Okay, let me know in the comment section. Or how many percent of share house can you find in the US or in the UK? If you're from USA, let me know in the comment section. Please give the video a huge and massive thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you have not, share beautiful comments, and I'll see you on my besties in my next video. Jackie M. the Bizenia. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.